The prayer. 1, 2, 3, and you next class. I grew up in First Baptist Church in Nutley, which was the first church to introduce the live gospel recording. So I grew up with gospel greats like the Reverend James Cleveland, Brother Morris Roberts, and anybody who was feeling gospel. I grew up listening to. So that style is rooted in, even though I enjoy contemporary music, I teach music, I like all of it. That style seems to be rooted in me. That's what comes out when I do.
Wait, did I not? Oh. Jason.
Hello.
The kids will be pouring in soon, and the teachers and stuff like that. Are you working right now?
I'm at work, but I don't have anything going on for like the next hour or so.
Okay, cool. Wait, are you doing research currently?
Yeah, mostly research. So I'm just like in the library every day.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's like laid back.
Yeah. And then I don't really start once I finish in July. That's when I'm gonna really be working.
Yeah, like it's gonna be like hardcore, like a lot of. Is it like, are the hours crazy?
It's gonna be 3 weeks and nights, 1 week of days, kind of. But it'll be 3 days a week, so it won't be like too crazy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey guys, as you come in, turn your audio off, please.
Oh.
Morning.
Morning, Dr. Cox. I'll just let you know, some of my students are joining. I just joined a little late because I was in my other class, and some of them joined because of that, even though I put it on the school page.
Oh, no worries. It's just, I put it on the meeting time a little bit earlier just because, with Google Meets and Zoom, there's always like some technical difficulties. So I just put it a few minutes early so that everyone could get logged in and we could, get microphones turned off and all of that stuff. So no worries. But like I said, people pour in and, I'll start maybe in another 2 or 3 minutes. I just want to give everyone time to, come in and get settled.
Hey, if you guys are here for Mrs. Brubaker's 8th period, you're in the right class. I will find you, and don't worry, I'll mark you down for attendance. So I see some of you guys are already here. Thank you. I see like Wilder and Erica, Makawa. So you're in the right spot. Miss Brubaker's 8th period, you're in the right spot.
Oh, hey, Miss Brubaker.
Hi, Desiree. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yay, most of the people here are from my class. Thank you guys for being on time. I really appreciate it.
Hi, Miss Brubaker.
Good morning. Diane, Nyla, I haven't seen you guys in ages.
Oh my God. Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Keep it simple. Hey, Simone. Good morning.
Hi, Miss Brubaker.
Oh, you still remember me.
Guys, maybe like one more minute and then we'll get started. Looks like we're picking up numbers. I think we're at 41 now. So another minute or so, we'll get started.
Awesome. My class, if you want to text any of your friends just to make sure they're in the right spot, I would really appreciate it. Ms. Brubaker's 8th period. If you just text your friends to make sure that they're here, because I am going to take attendance and it is a grade.
For the sake of time, let's get started. I want to formally introduce you guys to a friend of mine, Jason Lewis. He went to residency with my wife, Laura, and that's how I met him. But you know, Jason's a cool guy. He's African American, doing amazing things in his field, and I respect him for his professionalism. But not only that, I respect him because he's actually very funny. But he's like I would describe him as like somebody says something, says a joke, and you like, wait, what? Like, was he telling a joke? And you like start dying. Like he has like that subtle funniness to him. But I definitely respect who he is. I respect his journey. And, you know, I've seen his journey kind of happen watching him in residency with my wife, but, you know, also what she's told me about you. So I have a lot of respect for, you know, what you do and your journey and just being an African-American male in the medical field. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to, you know, let him take the mic, but I just want to go over some expectations real quick. So, guys, I expect that, you know, that you guys either put a question or a comment in the chat. All right. Mr. Lewis is going to save the comments and he's going to address them at the conclusion. Obviously pending time with this class, but guys, just don't interrupt verbally while he's speaking. So just any questions or comments you have, just put them in the chat while he's speaking. Same for the teachers and things like that. All right. So without further ado, Mr. Lewis.
All right. Well, it's nice to meet you all. I'm at work right now, but not much is going on because I'm doing research this year. But yeah, so I'll just start from the beginning because I know we're a little low on time, which is okay. But so I grew up in New York on Long Island, and I guess my love for medicine kind of started when I was young. Because around the age of 6, I actually was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. And so I was treated for that around the age of 6 It was a stage 4 cancer, and they didn't really think I was going to make it. So basically, they had me get my Make-A-Wish, and I went to Disney World, which was a lot of fun. They gave me this button, and I was able to like go to the front of the line for everything. So I was just skipping everybody and, going on all the rides. But at the end of the day, obviously, I was able to make it. And I think, just being in the hospital environment, I definitely had an interest starting from a young age. But of course, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. My mom always said, "You'll be a doctor." And I was like, sure. Yeah, that sounds like fun. But I didn't really think that was, the path I was going to take, because I was, pretty young. But then from then on, I went to City College. That was in New York, in New York City. And at the time, I had a lot of friends there, and a lot of them were talking about something called the physician assistant program. And that's actually what I was before I became a doctor. And so a physician assistant basically has similar capabilities to a doctor, but they are under the supervision of a doctor. And it is a very good field to get into if anyone is interested. It's at the level of a nurse practitioner. And so basically, I studied to become a physician assistant for it's about a 4-year program. And going on from there, I was pretty interested in the pediatric field, which is working with kids. So I worked with kids for about 2 years as a physician assistant. And a lot of people asked me, why did I switch from, being a physician assistant, which, it's the lifestyle. You do have a little more free time because you might work 3 days a week. And so the reason I continued on was because it was just something that I felt personally that I wanted to do. It wasn't because the field of, physician assistant was a bad field. It was just something that I felt I wanted to continue on and strive to become a doctor. But yeah, if anyone has questions later about being a physician assistant or a nurse practitioner, I can also answer questions on that. So after being a PA for about 2 years, a physician assistant, I actually had not finished all of the requirements to become a doctor. Like, you have to basically do 4 years of pre-med before you actually go on to medical school. But interestingly enough, the same year I was thinking about becoming a doctor, there was a program in Pennsylvania that opened up for PAs, for physician assistants who wanted to become doctors. And it was a 3-year program. I was very excited. They were only accepting about 10 people. And I was like, I might as well just give it a try. So I did apply for that without all my requirements, of course. I was missing like a semester of physics and a semester of organic chemistry, but they basically accepted me because they couldn't find a lot of people for the program. And they basically thought that, the grades I had were really good. So they were pretty excited about having this program started. And they wanted to see if this bridge would work, if it made sense. So in the end, we were able to get those 10 people and we were able to start this program. And we basically did the same. We worked with the medical students and we were all in the same classes. So nothing really changed. And I think the experience of going from being a physician assistant to going to medical school, it was, some people ask me, is it the same, were the classes harder? I would say it was about the same, because even when you're in your first year of medical school versus your first year of being a physician assistant, you basically have to study so much. It's like your life is put on hold. And I witnessed people, go through even divorces because, they're basically just there, and you're in school, you're in the library all day long. So it is, if this is, the field that you're looking to get into, it is a sacrifice for a couple of years before you see, um, um, the more positive stuff, I would say. Um, whether it be a physician assistant, a nurse practitioner, a nurse, or a doctor, there is a sacrifice of your time, a sacrifice of, I guess, even your family for a while, because you have to give up a lot of things, your social life, just so you can, finish and get things done. And yeah, so that program was about 3 years. And then going from there, I did go to New Jersey for a residency. And residency basically is where you pick something that you like, whether it be working with kids, working with adults, if you decide you like to do surgery, if you decide you like to work with elderly people. You basically pick something that you like and you train in that area for about 2 to 3 years. And so that's residency. As a physician assistant, that is not something that you'll have to do. You basically just pick a job right after you finish the program. But if you decide to become a doctor, what you have to do after medical school is pick an area that you like, and you basically have to train in that area for up to 4 years. And then even after that, if you want to become even more specialized, there's even more training. And for me, I did first want to work with kids, and then I decided I wanted to work with kids who have cancer. So that came out to about 6 years of training. The first 3 years is just working with kids in general. And then I'm actually in my last year of the 3 years of training to work with kids with cancer. And then after this, I will finally be done, and I'll be working at Sloan Kettering in New York. But the journey is a long journey, especially if you decide to become a doctor. I would say, but there are multiple paths. I mean, you can be interested in medicine and you don't want to, sacrifice, 6 to 8 years of your life. You definitely have other pathways. I mean, I think being a physician assistant or a nurse practitioner is also a very good alternative, especially if you value, family life as well, because being a doctor sometimes can, take up a lot of your time. So yeah, I would say I'm in the last legs of my journey. I did take a turn because usually after high school you can go and you do your pre-med, and then after your pre-med you just go straight to medical school. But I basically did pre-med, I became a physician assistant, and then I went to medical school afterwards. So it's a slightly different pathway. And if I wanted to actually go back and become a PA, all I'd have to do is, take a test and, but I think I'll just stick with this. But I think most important for me is how it came about wanting to become a doctor. I think it's something as even in high school, it's something to think about, because there are programs that actually take you from high school and they put you into, pre-med, and it kind of shortens your journey. I know of one in the city, it's Sophie Davis, and they basically are interested in high school students, and that's the city of New York. And so there are a lot of programs now that look at high school students and they look at your grades, and there are ways, to get into a medical program, from high school. So, I mean, those are things to think about even now, even though it does seem a little early, of course. And then I guess it's usually, for most people, they ask, how do you know you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be, how do you know you want to be a nurse or a physician assistant? I think most important is to figure out what you value, are you looking to have more free time as you grow up, or are you looking to, or do you think you can make the sacrifice of, giving up, a certain number of years? And then also, cost, how much is it going to cost me to, get this education? And of course, there are scholarships out there. It's just a lot of places don't give you those, they don't give them to you up front. It's things that you have to look for. I think another thing that kind of led me on this journey was when I was in undergrad, when I was at City College. I actually had an advisor, and she basically said, Jason, your grades are really bad, and you're never going to be a doctor. You should just try and find something else to do. And I think that kind of lit a fire under me, and I was like, I'm going to actually become a doctor. So from there on, I studied hard, very hard, and it did take a lot of sacrifice. So it's something that you have to think about. And when you decide, you just keep going until you get to your goal. It sounds easier said than done, of course. But yeah, so that's where I am now. That's all I got.
Yeah, I have some questions that were sent to me. I'm just gonna put them. Let's
see.
Sure. Can you just talk about what were your experience taking like those science classes? So he talked about it briefly, but like for those who are considering like a field in the medical field and or I don't want to say like architect or something like that. Like for example, like education, I didn't have to take, Jennifer and I who's on the call, we didn't have to take a bunch of science classes. Like I took probably like a 200 level science class. But like you guys have to take some serious science classes. So what were those classes and like what were they like? Like how did you do well in them, or how did you fare?
So some of those classes included like calculus, organic chemistry, general chemistry, statistics. So I mean, honestly, what I did for a lot of these classes was try and seek out the smartest person in the class and study with them, because I definitely was not the smartest one, and there were a couple of another class was microbiology. You have to learn so many different names, and it's like, how do you do all that? So for me, it was a lot of repetition. I would make flashcards, and I'm sure you can probably buy these on Amazon, but for like microbiology, I would make flashcards. So, and then I would just read those. I would take them with me everywhere. I would take them to the grocery store, I'd take them to the library. I'd take them everywhere. The train, I had my cards with me. If I was studying for like a math class, that was a little more difficult. I think for me, doing lots of questions was the most helpful. Like trying to get the concept of what does this formula mean, and reading about the formula was a little more difficult for me. But if I actually did the problems over and over and over, they can only give you those problems so many different ways. So that was what I did for like math subjects. And then of course, biology is just a lot of reading. And the important points for like a biology class are, usually it's very dense. It's let's say you read a paragraph, and from the paragraph, you have to basically pick the keywords and write them down. You basically have to look through the paragraph and find the most important points, and then you can summarize that in a couple of words. But usually the whole paragraph is not very important. It's just certain parts of the paragraph that you have to look into. And then organic chemistry, it's very similar to, like math, and you basically just need to memorize a lot of things. And I used flashcards. I think flashcards I used for a majority of my subjects, and those were very helpful.
Yeah, I was telling him I have a younger brother who's turning 18 in May, and he's like, "How do you study?" And I'm like, I told him, like, I don't know. I think it's just time. Like, I mean, obviously, like we said, like flashcards and doing a lot of problems, but I think the problem with this generation, I'm not complaining about you guys. I'm guilty of it too. I pick up my phone a lot and I look at social media and I scroll and I scroll. But like, I feel like when I was at my best as a student, probably the best version of me was when I was in like the last 6 months of my dissertation writing phase. I literally would not get on Instagram for like literally like the entire day. Like for like 4 months, I like dropped Instagram. Like, did you have social media when you were taking all of these classes, or did you like, you know, if you think about any how did you block out interruption? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Okay,
how did you block out like you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a funny question because I get distracted very easily, and I don't like I can only study for like so long. So like for me, I'm talking frequent breaks. Like I would study for only like 15 minutes and then I'd take a break for 10 minutes and then I'd go back. So like for me, I mean, I would reward myself with a break every 15, 20 minutes. I definitely, like for someone who has trouble, you know, sitting there and studying for like half an hour, I would say break up your time, 10 minutes, take a break for 5 minutes, go back for another 10. You'll get more done in that 10 minutes, you know, every 10 minutes than, you know, sitting there for 30 minutes and, you know, your mind is just wandering for half of the time. So yeah, try and break it up into smaller, you know, aliquots of time.
What a student said, if you had known what you know now, would you still like have wanted to become a doctor? I guess in your past, if you're looking at your former self, do you still think that it would be like your goal and be a passion of yours?
Oh yeah, definitely would have been where I would have wanted to go. I think for me, if I had known what I know now, I probably would have in high school tried to find programs that, you know, might be useful to me as a, you know, someone in high school that might actually help me to get to my goal quicker. There are a lot of programs that I don't know if Sophie Davis does this, which is in New York City. It's like a 7-year program from high school to medical, you know, to becoming a doctor. So it's like a lot of these programs, they will give you, you know, they'll reward you, you know, if your grades are good for high school, they can reward you with, you know, less time when it comes to going to, you know, a medical program.
What advice would you tell a high school freshman? So like somebody who's a freshman like this year, like what would you tell them just in general, life, school, like?
They're not going to listen to my advice. No, I'm kidding. But I think in high school, I was not thinking about, which is, you know, what all adults, you know, what all high schoolers are. You're not thinking about like, what am I going to do in a couple of years? Maybe some high schoolers are, but you're not thinking about, I guess, your future as much as you probably could have. And I think you don't really have to, you know, go forward and say, okay, you know, I'm going to put my life on hold as a, you know, a freshman and, you know, try and, you know, get so far ahead at this point in my life, you know, and become an adult. You know, you have to, you know, enjoy life. But I think one important thing I would do is at least get out a piece of paper and write down where do I want to be in 5 years? You know, like what do I want to be? And how can I get there? And leave it as simple as that. You don't have to, you know, stress out to the max because you're still a freshman. But I think it's good to have goals, future goals, and then you can check them off as you go.
I love that. Thank you, Jason. And for me, I selfishly, like I feel like with the guest speakers, I'm learning too. Like I'm taking this stuff and applying it to my own life. So a teacher said, how is it different working with children patients versus adults?
So with children, I would say they definitely don't complain as much as adults. But and they definitely have more, I would say, trust in you. Like they're, you know, they'll do, you know, you tell them that this is what we're doing and it's going to work. And, you know, they like, okay, it is going to work. And then they get really happy and then they go on with their day. And then, as an adult, of course, you have a lot more questions and you've seen a lot more things. And I think I definitely have a lot more fun with the kids. I think there's one patient I have. She's doing a lot better. She had cancer, of course, but one day she was just like, I mean, I think an adult will do the same thing if they wanted, but she was like, I want some spicy chicken nuggets. I was like, I'm like, you're in the hospital. There's no way for you to get these nuggets. And I was like, her mom was not there. No one was there. She was like, why can't you go get me those? And I was like, well, I guess I could. And so I got her chicken nuggets, and it was just funny because it's like, I think as an adult, you would another adult ask ask that kind of question to their doctor? Probably not. But I actually, I went and I got those nuggets, and she was pretty happy about it.
I love that story. That's so funny. I would pride myself in going to get that kid chicken nuggets. Like one kid asked, what kind of specific strategies did you have to I guess sacrifice, excuse me, not strategies. I read that wrong. What kind of sacrifices did you have to give up or, to do to get to where you are today?
Well, I think the main sacrifice was, besides time, I think was my family, I guess, because I grew up in New York and I basically left New York in 2012 to start, I went to medical school. That was, 3 years. And then New Jersey was another 3 years. So about 6 years. And now I'm in Pennsylvania. And so that was another 3 years. So I've been home. I've been to New York and I've, seen my family, but it isn't the same when you're not, in the same state. So it's been, about 9 years since I've been back in New York. And that's obviously not what, for every person, it's not going to be the same. You might be able to find all your schools in your state, and you might not have to leave your family. So, but that is one sacrifice that I had to make. And I think another one is time, because you basically have to give up a lot of, I guess, fun things that maybe your friends are going out that night and you're like, I have to study. And so it's, when you're trying to become a doctor or physician assistant or a nurse, or anything in the medical field, I think there's a certain amount of time where you're just going to have to say, I got to put things to the side. I can't have as much fun. You can probably still have some fun. You should, that's healthy, of course. But it's probably less than what your friends are doing. Maybe they're going out every night, but you might be able to go out maybe once a week.
Party animal, you no. So this is a little bit maybe a tough question. Maybe it's easy for you, but I again, I'm a emotional wreck. How did you? I mean, I've heard stories from Laura. Obviously, when you guys are in residency, and I'm sure you have your own stories. But how do you? And I don't know if you do or not. How do you deal with things that are traumatic that happen, especially going into the cancer field and working in July, working at a premier cancer institute or hospital in New York? How do you handle those tough conversations or those tough situations, maybe losing a patient or so? I just can't imagine doing that consistently over time. I just think it would beat me up. So I'm just intrigued and interested to know, how you handle it. And then they also say, do you take it home with you? How do you, I know you have a wife. How do you balance that?
I think the hospitals that we've worked in, they usually, they set up, I guess, kind of social people that pastoral care, and they usually have a social, someone that can basically sit down with us and talk to us, because usually after a traumatic event, of course, you think about it and you're just sitting there and you're kind of shocked. But basically it's hard not to take it home with you. But the most important thing I found is to talk it out with at least somebody on the job. And it's good to have somebody when you go home to talk it out with. And then also you got to have, like, I guess, ways to kind of release that stress at home. When you get home, watch TV, or you talk to your wife or your husband, or you go out to the mall. You just have to kind of use that energy and just try and figure out how to distribute it, because if you just leave it there and you just kind of mull on it, you don't really get rid of it, and it basically can just sit there. Just as time goes on, it's just not very healthy, of course. So it's like you have to have somebody to talk to, and so usually our hospitals have a way to, like, help us with this, and they always tell us, in emails and things like that, if you're ever stressed out, or if you ever have concerns, definitely come to us. So you can't just, it's just best to, like, try and talk it out with somebody, and that's how I kind of went through it. But there's definitely people patients that have passed away that I still think about, but I've talked it out with people, so it has been helpful.
Wow. And let me just say thank you for what you do. Like I said, I'll definitely have a lot of respect for it. So, but thank you. I've had people in my family. Actually, my mom had lymphoma. She's alive and well, but she has lymphoma. She actually has to get treatment every so often. I can't think of the name of the treatment, but it's for her immune system. It's like immune boosters. She has to get that pretty frequently. I don't know, maybe once every 2 months or so. I'm not sure, but she has to get treatment. They don't know if they want to give her the vaccine yet, because they don't know if it's going to be effective with her compromised immune system. So let's see, we have a few more questions. And one student said, how do you react under pressure? I guess, like, if something goes wrong in the hospital, like, is it, what is it? Is it just like, do you just snap into it, or like, how do you handle, like, a situation, like a pressure situation?
Yeah, I think as a medical professional, they train you very well, and I think it really starts from being under pressure in school, because you get kind of used to being under pressure starting from, like, I would say pre-med, because you have all these classes, they're weighing on you, you have to get these good grades. And then when you get into medical school, you have a lot of the same classes, and you have a lot of pressure and stress on you. And then so when you get to residency, or when you get to your field that you want to be in, you're kind of already like, I felt this pressure, it feels familiar. And so you kind of are able to react a little bit better, because you're like, I felt this pressure for maybe, 2 to 4 years already. It's different this time because it's a human being. But it's like that training has already kind of prepared you for it. And so they don't just put you out there and say you're by yourself. You always have at least 5 or 6 other people around you when there's any type of situation. So there's always somebody to lean on. So when I'm under pressure, or if there's a situation, if there's ever a time where I think I can't do this on my own, I always ask for help. And that's most important. Just not to think that, hey, I can do this on my own. You always, if there's somebody around that you think can help you, it's definitely always a great idea to ask for help. And I know, a lot of us do have, pride, and you're like, I don't want to do that. But, I think every day you're learning. And so it's just like, when you're under the pressure, just ask for help if you don't think you can do it. And that I think that relates to even, high school. If you think there's times where you're focused, or you think you need help with a subject, I think it's very important just to ask for help, even though you don't always want to.
Thank you. I hate asking for help. A teacher said, in your opinion, guess, is there or what medical movie or show is closest to the real thing? I know that I watched the show called The Resident, and I was watching it for like 3 episodes, and Laura was like, that's fake. I was like, I love this show. I was like, it's so good. And she was like, that's fake, that's fake, that's fake, that's fake. So is there a show or a movie that is close to the real thing, or one that you watch maybe that isn't totally off? Like Laura literally shoots down she's like, oh, they wouldn't trick someone like that. I'm like, babe, stop ruining it for me. Like,
well, if you've ever seen the show Scrubs, that's the closest to real life. I'm just kidding.
Oh no.
I don't know if anyone's seen that show. I love that show.
Yeah.
But ER, I think, is a show I really liked. It's an old show though. It's like on Hulu, I think. I haven't seen any shows that are close to real life though, but ER is one of my favorites.
If I could add something, wouldn't the closest show to being the real thing be like The Good Doctor?
The Good Doctor is it is a good show. I think
exactly. Like I really like that show. Like, come on, you cannot tell me that it's not real. Like for real.
I would say I haven't seen that in real life, but you know, the funny thing is, I think the thing is, I work in like oncology, and like he does a totally different field. So I feel like there's so many different fields that basically you could probably say that maybe it's realistic for one field but not another. So for oncology, I would say it probably isn't, but for like neurosurgery, maybe that's something that they do all the time. So, yeah, I think it basically depends because there's just so many fields that you could be in.
Okay, I would just like to say something. Grey's Anatomy is one of my favorite shows ever. I binged it in 2 months, and that was too fast, but like it's so good. Like, do you watch that show? Because it's like
I've watched a couple of episodes.
A couple? Why a couple?
I've made probably like 3 or 4.
3 or 4? No, it's so good.
I feel like it's more like it's kind of like a romance.
Well, okay, fine.
What do you
but like
think?
still, like I heard that. Okay, I heard that most of the cases that they get are from Florida. I heard that like most of the cases that happen in the show happen in Florida because all the cases in Florida are crazy. So like, oh yeah, we could put that in our show. So they do put it in their show.
Yeah, so they might have some cases from real places that they're able to do. I think like even if you watch like SVU, they say that nothing is like portrayed from real things, but most of them are like real life, you know, things that have happened. You know, if you're like, oh, this seems familiar, that's from like the news the other day. But I think that it is very possible that it could have used like real cases from like a different state.
Okay, thank you.
I love that. One student said, well, it's 2 questions. One is a tough, heavy lifting question that says, you know, what are your best methods to respond to when you get to a point where you feel like it's difficult to continue, I guess, with work or life, and like, you know, like how do you like persist in that space? I know I'm struggling right now with winter and COVID. But so I guess how do you persist? And then the second question you can answer after that if you're okay with it is, one student said that she wants to be a doctor, but how did she doesn't know how to choose like which type of doctor to be. Also, do you know which doctor saves more lives? So that's probably
which doctor saves the most lives?
Yeah, which type, I guess.
Or so for the first question, I guess. Okay, so the question was basically like how do I keep going despite like it getting tough? Is that what that was?
Yeah.
So, for me, I think I kind of picture myself where it's like, okay, if I'm in a tough position, let's say I just got a bad grade and I got like, let's say I got like a 50. There's a couple of ways I can go about this. I can give up. I can take it as a challenge and keep going, or I can kind of like just sit there and think about it for days. And if you think about it, when you get that bad grade, you don't want to just stand still. You know, you don't want to just, because if you're standing still, you're wasting time. So once I see that grade, or once I see that thing that is kind of weighing on me or stressing me out, you have to make a decision. Which way, what do I want to do? It doesn't matter what you do, just make a decision. Do you want to quit here and find something else to do? Or do I want to just, does this make me want to study harder? So it's like, once you get into that stressful situation, remember that you just need to keep moving. You know, like, which way do I want to go though? Just try and make a decision, you know? So I know it's kind of hard because you want to sit there and you want to think about it, and you might want to, and of course that's fine. It's healthy, but you don't want to sit there and think about it for days and, and months. You know, it's like you think about it for a couple of hours and then you say to yourself, okay, now what do I want to do? Because I don't want to sit here and I don't want to waste my time.
Wow.
And then the other question, how do I pick the field? I guess for me, it was obviously more personal because I was, I had cancer when I was younger. And not everyone's going to have a personal experience. I think most important for me was when you get to, whether it be nurse, physician assistant, or doctor, they'll give you plenty of time. Like you can basically do like a month or two in each field. And if there's a field that starts to interest you, you can even do more months or more training in that field when you get to medical school. Because the first 2 years, you basically are studying and you do lots of tests. The second 2 years, you basically start training in tons of different fields. So 1 month, you'll be doing OBGYN, you're working with females. Another month, you'll be working with kids. Another month, you'll be working with elderly. Another month, you'll be doing surgery. So you'll have pretty much plenty of time to like work in each field and basically figure out which one you really hate and which ones you might be really interested in. Then you can make a list and then decide.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
My question is, is this a requirement for like if you're choosing like another path that's not the path of a doctor?
Well,
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, you mean like, I guess when you talk about, you're talking about which path?
I'm talking about like what you're saying right now. Is it like a requirement for another path that is not the path that doesn't follow the path of a doctor?
Yeah. So you mean like picking different fields?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So like when I went to PA school, physician assistant school, and my wife is a nurse. So she basically, for the first year of PA school, you're doing like lots of classes. You're basically sitting in class, you're taking tests. And then the second year, they send you out to different hospitals and you do 1 month of each, basically 1 month of each different specialty. And if you were to become a doctor, you do 2 years of those, the same thing, but it's a little shorter when you're, going to PA school, but it's definitely similar.
Jason, you and I talked about this, just being African American males, but I'm interested to hear your perspective for the students, because they're mostly minorities. To like, what is it being like? How does it feel, and how do you navigate the space of being an African American male in a professional space that might be dominated, by people who are not African American or minorities? Like, is there a pressure in that? How do you handle it? Is it just everyone's human and everyone's nice, or like what how do you, I don't know, how do you see that?
So I think there have been times where I've kind of felt out of place. Like my medical school was, Lake Erie, Pennsylvania. And I think I was the only African American there. but like it wasn't awkward because I had a lot of, I guess, friends there, and I think a lot of the places where I went to like do my, I guess, clerkships, which is like basically my training. Like one month I was like in an Amish community for like a month, and that was a lot of fun. And I think I've never had an experience where I was feeling so awkward that I didn't want to continue in the field. And I know a lot of people might feel that, I guess, that's something that they would think of when they go to a doctor. Most times it's not portrayed as an African American or even or minority, but when you go out into like most of the states, there are a lot of minority doctors, but in the, I guess, social media, if you're watching a TV show, you might not see it as much, but there's definitely a lot of minority doctors out there.
Awesome. Thank you. Is there just for the audience, the students or the teachers, are there any more questions before we let Jason get back to his research? No. All right. Well, Jason, I want to say thank you, and I want to say, if you don't recognize this or know this, you never know who you are inspiring. And one of the reasons why I've been trying to do this big push with having guest speakers for African American History Month is because, as a student, like I would have people come in, and it would be like the younger guy or female that would just tell me a story, and I'd be so inspired by it. So like, you never know who you're inspiring. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking your time out to speak to students in my district. I really, really, really appreciate it. And, if you change one person's life, that's on this call, you did your life's work. So I just want to formally say thank you. Thank you for taking your time out. And I'm hoping that you could come camping with us next fall.
Oh, yeah. Well, also, if anyone has questions, I guess after this is over, they can email you, and then you can, get in touch with me. That's fine.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, man. Someone said,
do you like?
Oh, nice. He's a human. What hobbies do you have? I know you play the guitar a little bit. I don't know if if you have hobbies with like your job, but like if you're allowed to.
I play guitar. I do love to like go kayaking, but I haven't done that very often. Something I do in my free time is watch a lot of anime. So,
oh my God, the kids would love you.
Yes.
I'm just looking at. Oh, okay. He's changed.
Yes.
I see a lot of Attack on Titan, and that's a great show.
Yes.
The last episode. This is the last season, so very good.
Dude, honestly, you said anime. I'm like, the kids are gonna be like, ah! That's all he's talking about.
I heard anime.
So many good animes.
But yeah, so thank you for. Oh, you watch Dr. Stone or Cells at Work?
I actually haven't watched that one.
Someone said you're the best. Dude, thank you for your time, man. I really, really, really appreciate it. And if I get any questions, maybe the kids will be future doctors, I'll shoot them your way.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jay. Have a good one, man.
Okay, you too.
Have a great afternoon.
Bye.
Thank you to my class. You guys killed it with the questions. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
No problem.
I miss you, Miss Brubaker.
So we could leave?
Only if you like jazz.
No.
Pardon me?
You like jazz?
No. Hi, Desiree.
Hi. Wait,
It's
Makwa? Oh, what's up, dude?
Yeah, it's Makwa. You got 1 minute, and then your next class starts at 10:45, guys. Your next class is 10:45.
I know a good amount of these people. I have to think about it though.
But yeah, you could leave.
No.
Bye.
I know, Brandon. I died when you asked that question.
All right, guys. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye, Xavier.
Bye,
Bye.
Mr. Baker.
Bye, guys.
Sayonara.
Bye.
See you next week.
Yep. See you next week.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. You too.
We don't have school Monday, right?
No, you have off. You have off. Don't forget that.
Because I was going to join Miss Liz.
Oh, no.
Okay, have a nice weekend.
See you.